7 o'clock, so we will call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second, third.
Been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next is the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next, is there anybody from the public like to speak something that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. Old business wage study. Glenn, do you want to present this to the council? Is our screens not working up here? The screens?
Please.
Consulting firm did the wage study for us. It was presented to the Finance Committee a few months ago. They asked for clarification on a few items on there, a few positions. And what you have tonight are basically the brackets for the new wage study. They presented as two different proposals. One was a 60th percentile, the other is a 70th percentile. So those are all just the brackets for each position in the city. That's what it really boils down to. There's a lot of math behind that, a lot of comparisons, whatever. But I've just included in the packet actually what the brackets break down to. The only one that was not in the wage and salary study was the new assistant city administrator, because that was not part of the study. So you'll notice that the 60th and 70th percentile are exactly the same, only because I went out there and gathered that information and developed that range. And whether it's 60 or 70, it doesn't matter. That's just the range for that position. So that's a newly created position, so it's not comparing with a past position, which we never had before. I don't find any record of us ever having a assistant city administrator. So that's brand new, so there's really no comparison for it. As you know, right now our assistant does cover that position, but he also has been the community development director in code, also involved in code enforcement in the past also. So it's a familiar name and a familiar face, but it's a new position. So that's the difference there. So anyway, that's it. The plan was to adopt either the 60 or 70 percentile, and actually there's not that much difference. If you did the 60th percentile, I think it went with compression, it went to 40,000, and with compression the 70th, I think it went to about 60,000, and that's the entire organization covered under that, not just one department or something. So the cost difference was only about $20,000. So the whole point of it was that when we did our strategic planning a couple of years ago, that took a while because of COVID pandemics. Remember, one of the top strategic goals was recruitment and retainment of personnel. And this then led to the study, which led to what you got in front of you right now. So that's kind of a quick summary from a long road, actually, how we got here.
Any questions for Glenn? All right, thank you, Glenn.
All right.
Anybody else like to speak to this agenda item? Seeing none, council discussion.
I think we just probably need to clarify on, I guess the question for the council is, are we targeting doing something with 2025? So, or is this 2026 to be discussed in the budget process?
I think that would be discussed in the budget
Okay.
process for 26. Yeah, this is just be addressing 25.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea, but is there any concern that people this won't affect that are city employees? It might create a morale problem.
That's what the compression portion addresses and gets everybody back in line.
That's correct. That's what that's for.
Okay.
So if you do the compression, which I actually think should be called decompression, because it actually decompresses those people, not compress them together. But you're right, that's how that's handled there.
Okay.
So these are just some of them are pretty wide brackets, but you can fall anywhere in there. And of course, it's up to your supervisor whether you're getting merit pay or they can do the compression within that range. So the idea is to separate the long-term employees from the people who just got in. So that was a concern, and that's how we handled it.
Okay.
But to your point, Jay, I think these are just ranges that we set. I know we saw a spreadsheet that showed, says if you move this, if you adopt this, you've got to get everybody up to the minimum. That will affect people that are below the minimum.
Yeah.
People that are still above the minimum, it may widen the range, but doesn't necessarily mean they're moving.
Yeah, that's my concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's going to be just like any salary range that you have. It's your supervisor, it's your performance. So not everybody in that role, based on their seniority, whatever, gets paid the same amount.
Yeah.
There's a range, and that's the flexibility here that we have.
So between the 60th and 70th percentile, Glenn, is the ranges the same? It just widens, or does it move up the minimum?
It
It's
moves-
right here.
It does both.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see that on your, it's presented the 60th and the 70% side by side there.
It's a higher minimum and a higher maximum.
Yeah, it does both.
Yeah. And I think something we discussed or talked about or noted in the Budget and Finance Committee is that, until you get these studies back, you really don't know where you land. You judge how you're doing based on the attrition you have or lack thereof. But we were concerned we would come back is not competitive. But I think the numbers were, you said 40 with compression. If you take that piece out, it was more like 20-some, 28.
22, 23.
23. So
it was low 20s.
at the 60th percentile. So we were based on what we've been doing for years, pretty much landed in the 60th percentile of the study, the communities in the study, which was our target as a minimum.
Yeah, that's good news because we want to be above the 50th percentile.
Right.
A lot of people, when they do a weight study, they say, well, let's give us the 50th percent. So then you're just in the average there. But pretty soon the problem with that is the next year you're going to be below that average. And so we want to kind of move ahead so we're not falling behind. And that's what typically happens when people adopt the 50th percentile.
I think where I sit, because I've looked at this quite a bit and thought about it a lot, where I sit, I think we almost should adopt a 60th percentile now, and as we go through the next budget cycle, depending on what that looks like, we could look at moving up. But we move up to the 70th, and then budget numbers start coming in negatively. We've pigeonholed ourselves where it's easier to move up later on based on what budgetary constraints we may or may not be looking at. That's my opinion.
Okay, well, so I misunderstood though, so that we are looking at adopting this for 2025.
Well, it goes into it goes into effect right away.
Gotcha.
So within their budget, they can do what they need to. Their budget numbers are already set, but it, just for planning purposes, I
I think the number is small enough because it's difficult to pass a budget and then it's like an unfunded mandate and then hand them new minimums that may not be supportable with the budget they've got. I think the number is low enough on the increase that shouldn't be a problem, but it could be,
yeah.
right?
And it seems like we're not, that the city's not really paying that much more to do
Right.
the 70th percentile.
The 60th was like 22 and then 40 if we did the compression. So it potentially would be an increase. We'd have to find $40,000 in the 2025 budget, which we've already passed. Departments would have to figure out how to work
We
it.
did build in an increase.
So we built, how much did we build in?
I think it was at least that. We're actually anticipating more that would go
Okay.
with the compression and whatever. So that's already really sort of in
So do we build, since we were already operating at the 60th percentile, and we probably already discussed this, but, you know, did we build that in based on the standard of, you know, cost of living and merit increases every year? This is, I mean, does that,
That's always given as a 5%, and this is actually way below. I mean,
right, so I guess what I'm saying is, with the cost of living and COLA for 2025, does that get them into the 60th percentile here?
Not, there'll probably be some people who are close.
Okay.
That would then get into the bracket.
Okay, so we'd still need to make
Yeah,
up.
you still,
Okay.
not everybody will get there. no.
Gotcha.
Not even with the 5%. Even if you did 5%, you would
Okay.
not get there.
That makes sense.
It does. I guess if you found yourself in a position where, I mean, we're voting on this tonight, so I was gonna say, if you found yourself in a position where you were short, you could wait a month and buy some time and pass it later, and hopefully the numbers would fall in line there. But I mean, I don't think it's that big of a change. I think that you can
Yeah.
calibrate within the departments.
And I don't remember in the discussion, where we put that in. I assume we put that incremental in more than a 5% increase from 24 to 25 when we did our budget process.
Yeah, so
Right,
we
so
should be okay.
It should be in there. Yeah.
Well, I'm ready to vote for the 60th if you guys are.
Need a motion.
I'll move we adopt the salary wage schedule as presented for 2025
Second.
Percentile.
at 60.
Second.
60 percentile.
I thought we were doing 70.
Need a motion for 60.
Mission for 60, and then we'll,
With or without the compression.
I can't, so is it a double negative on the,
She calls it compression in the studies.
so with compression, yeah.
Been moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no.
Nay.
Motion passes 3-1. New business, planning commission and appointments. I believe there is a document in your packet. Is that correct? Essentially, what I needed to do on this, guys, just to lay it out, is trying to line up everybody's appointment dates so that they were correct. So that's the only reason you're seeing this. So essentially, what you'll see is the 3 newest ones that the council's recently appointed are on 4-year terms, and the 2 individuals that have been there for a while are on 2-year terms, or their term will expire in 2 years, so that way they offset, so we don't lose 5 all at once. So that's what you see there. So, or that's what I'm presenting to the council. Is there anybody from the public like to speak to this agenda item? Seeing none, council discussion. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we adopt the term expiration dates as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next agenda item under new business is resolution 25-something. This is a resolution for potential solar facility to allow us to get tax credits
Correct.
on that facility. So Glenn advised that the expiration date on this is February 18th. Is that correct?
February 14th
February 14th.
at midnight.
So essentially, we're trying to get this resolution passed so we're in line just in case the council were to move forward with a solar facility, that we'd also qualify for those tax credits for that facility. Did I incorporate that correctly?
Actually, I'm not going to try to complicate it any more than that. And probably should have flipped these two resolutions, because the first one basically is a resolution that says we don't need an interconnect agreement with our solar because we own our facility. So if we were like Evergy or something like that, they'd have to have an interconnect agreement with us. That's all that means. So it's just saying, okay, we own our own system. So that's the easy one. The second one is, which I just was alerted to this on Friday, as you probably notice, a lot of things in Washington are changing rapidly. And so the IRS put out some rules here at tail end of last week and said, you can get another 20% tax credits if you establish a low to moderate income program. And I think we talked about this briefly when we talked about solar, and we can talk about more of this next Tuesday night during the workshop. So that's on top of either the 30 or the 40% tax credits you would get for solar. And those are still in effect right now. But the reason they wanted us to rush this, because for some reason, you get in line first if you get in by the 14th. I'm not sure why that is. I'm not sure what magic date that is for the IRS or the Treasury Department or anything like that. So they put out the word, and the fact that we only got one more council meeting and it's after the 14th, saying, well, we need to throw this on here now. So sorry about rushing this on. There's a little information packet that I included in there that kind of goes in ins and outs of the low to moderate income. Basically what it is 50% of the savings that you would get from solar would have to go to your low to moderate income people. We have to establish that program. You keep it for 5 years. You can keep it for longer than that, but you need that minimum to have it for 5 years so they get that benefit. And I'm not an expert on how to establish that, but it won't be by the census. Normally our census doesn't show us, at qualifying for low to moderate income. So it's done a different way, but you can meet that. But that all has to be approved also then by the IRS. And they're claiming that they'll get that turned around pretty quick. So once you submit to your program, they're not going to wait 4 years to do that. This doesn't commit you to anything. This is, we can go up to 3 megawatts. If we decide not to do 3 megawatts or we decide to do nothing, they would like to know if they approve us. They don't want us to wait 3 years before you go back and say, we're not going to do anything, because somebody else could get those tax credits. But this is all addition to, so where we get 30 or 40 on, and a lot of that's going to depend on domestic content of your solar, however you go with that. So that's the problem, but we have to establish that low to moderate income program, and I don't think we'll have really a problem doing that.
Do you get assistance doing that?
Yes, there's a lot of people, consultants that'll guide you through that, and so we probably explain a little more about that on Tuesday night.
Okay.
I don't think it's extremely difficult to do it, but it would really help out our low to moderate income people.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about raising rates and doing all these things. This would, 50% of the avoided cost or the savings goes to them. That's a pretty good pool of money that they could be taking advantage of. So this is in addition to the other things we've talked about. And so if we do this, it's really it's really a benefit to the city. If we can get 60% tax credit, that's more than half the project. But again, this is all an application. It's got to be all approved. We have to establish the plan, on and on. So that's kind of what it is in a nutshell. And sorry about the speed, but they're making us do it quickly for their own reasons. I don't quite understand them, but.
Anybody from public like to speak to this agenda item? Seeing none, council discussion.
So savings, are the savings defined as the savings due to the tax credit, or is there some other formula that
No, due to your solar versus some other.
would have an algorithm to determine how
There's a formula
more
for it.
cost-effective solar was than
Then market-based power.
market-based, or, okay.
So you have to show that.
And that's the amount that 50% of that would be put back into the program.
Right. So
Okay.
that would be a pool of money for your low to moderate income people.
Okay.
So that basically then would be a deduction on their bill.
Okay. And the last question I have is it sounds like you don't have to have a formal plan that they're going to evaluate as part of the application. You just have to commit to getting a plan.
For this,
Yeah.
today, yes, but to get it approved, we'd have to have a plan.
Okay, so we have to have that. Okay, the approval isn't the 14th; it's the
Oh, no.
application.
Just getting this in and saying we're interested in doing this, and we're in line first is what they're telling us.
But it sounds like this, with the speed of this, the approval of the plans may be coming fairly quickly.
It would be.
If they say, yeah, you're going to have this much time to get a plan in, or you're rejected.
Yeah.
We need to be thinking about what that looks like.
So, right, they want to get the tax credits out as soon as they can. That's the whole idea.
So it doesn't really matter the demographics of your town. It's just, all that matters is that 50% goes to that program.
Right, so that's different than like the CDBG grants and things like that. where
Right.
It's all done by census, or you can do a survey and find out or whatever. So this is just the difference between what you're saving and what what you would have, what it would cost you on the market.
But I suppose there's a line somewhere, like let's say if you had a town that had a pretty low moderate income line, you maybe wouldn't even be able to meet that 50% mark.
Yeah.
But what I'm asking is, do we feel confident that we would be able to with 3 megawatts?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. If we don't do 3, you can go back like 25% less than that.
Okay.
You don't have to use the entire 3. So but the 3 will be the maximum
Okay.
for the tax credit.
Right.
If you do something else, then you're just not going to get that tax.
Right.
And that's the general rule for almost any tax credit. If you're not going to use the program or go to the full extent, you just don't get the tax credit.
Okay.
I think they're going to have a formula on what's low and moderate income for this program. I don't
Right.
think we can establish that based on our demographics.
Right.
And to your point, that will determine how many qualify.
Yeah.
And I guess theoretically, bills go to 0 if we still have 50% to give away, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah. I mean, that could be. I don't think that'll be the case.
I know,
Yeah.
but theoretically, if you don't have enough in that category
Right.
with electric bills that add up to your 50% savings, they're all going to be, get a credit for all of that. We're still not giving out 50%. Theoretically,
Yeah. I think might be a possibility.
that'd be a good problem to have. And
Oh,
Yeah, it would be.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
but I'm just trying to figure out how the program works.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that's the way it would go.
Any other questions? Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion on this first resolution.
Do we have a number for it?
We do not.
Oh,
Okay. I move to approve the resolution confirming no interconnection agreement is required for the solar facility. You said that should go first, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next is the resolution for determining, yeah,
I'll go ahead and do it.
that
too.
word. Hang on, let's open it up for public comment.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Is there anybody that'd like to comment to this agenda item? Seeing none, council discussion.
Okay. I move to approve the resolution of the City of Bolton City determining the advisability of establishing a qualified low-income benefit program for the solar facility.
I have a question. Can I pause the motion for a minute?
Mhm.
On this, it says that the mayor moved that the resolution be adopted.
They're talking about a commission style form, so that was just a blanket resolution.
Oh,
So it'll be changed.
okay. I was gonna say you can't do that.
No. On a commission style government, you can,
Okay,
but on our style government,
okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
no, that will be
It's all
changed.
boilerplate language then.
Okay.
My motion is still on the table.
Correct. Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next agenda item is city holidays. So we approve these annually. Are they in the packet? Yep, okay. So there they are listed on your packet. Is there anybody in the public like to speak to this agenda item? Seeing none. Only comment I have and my recommendation is to add February 10th, 2025 onto this holiday schedule for next Monday for the day after the Super Bowl. I think it's a
Are you
good.
that confident or that worried?
No, I think it, well, either way, I think it's a good perk for the city employees. I think it lets them enjoy their family and friends that evening, kind of as a midwinter type perk. And hopefully we see history. So, what do you think?
Making sure some other holidays are already on there.
Take both. Yeah.
With that, any council comments?
No, I'm just looking to make sure that all the holidays that are typically captured are captured, and we're not adding one that's, yeah, maybe we should have put one, we should recognize that day, but no, that looks like so far good.
It's just for this year, right?
Correct. It's approved every year, so.
I don't have any problem with it.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we add February 10th to the 2025 vacation agenda
And pass as presented.
and passed as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to pass the 2025 holidays as presented with the addition of February 10th for this year. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next, joint cities county emergency management resolution. Glenn, do you want to kind of go over this real quick?
I guess a more tighter board here, and have a closer relationship with us during, for emergency management during those situations or whatever. So they've outlined the powers and duties and all that good stuff that's in this governing body for the entire county. So that way all the cities and the county all work together on this board. I suspect there's a lot of good reasons why you would do it. Coordination of services and whatever. I don't see any really downside. Closer with everybody else during whatever emergency would come, usually weather events and things like that. So it's like pretty standard board type of stuff. So I don't know if it's really going to change dramatically what we do during emergencies. But just kind of gives an outline here or a structure for that, which I'm a little surprised that really already exists. But I guess this is kind of something new that they've thought up here at the county. So that's really all it is.
Anybody from the public like to speak to this agenda item? I just have one question for Chief. Can you come up to the podium? Sorry, you have to get up. Have you had time to review this? No, I have not. Okay. I guess my main thing would be for you and Chief Baker to review this to make sure it's in line with your guys' current practices. I'd hate to pass something without the chief's reviews.
It jumped out to me, and I said I didn't study it in great detail. And
Just because you guys would be the ones having to operate under.
Yeah, I've not seen this document.
I didn't see how the members were executive committee and the members were just chosen. I read it and didn't see anything about how the cities put somebody forward to be on this committee.
Yeah, I don't
It's
see
not
that
in there.
I see how they can terminate.
They describe the committee, executive committee, and duties, but there's no mention of who makes up this committee, which is interesting.
You guys appointed me to be on a committee. I can't tell you I haven't read this document. I can't tell you if it's the same one or not.
I would assume it's that role, but it doesn't state that, because this actually dissolves previous resolutions that the
The
cities-
Local Emergency Planning Council is what you appointed me to.
Okay.
That would be this.
The
guess-
acronym is LEPC.
Yeah, this is
I don't think we're in a hurry to pass this, right, Glenn?
we're not, yeah, they just sent it over for our consideration.
Yeah.
So
So
I'd like to take the time to allow you and Chief Baker and just to review this document. And I agree with Scott to figure out how the governing board is appointed, how it's supposed to be appointed, all that fun stuff before we act on it.
Does this supersede the committee he's already on, or what's the overlap?
I can look at it first thing in the morning.
Okay.
Sounds
Is
good.
the council good with tabling this until the next meeting?
Yeah.
Allow that review? Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right, council committee reports, budget and finance. Scott?
Did not meet since the last council meeting. Our next meeting is this Friday, 7:15 a.m., second floor of City Hall,
7:15?
7:30.
I just didn't know if you moved it up on me.
We probably should based on what we'll go 7:30 because the mayor can't get up early.
No, that is not what I'm saying. I'm happy to give it. I'm not the
I
last
took
one.
the comment. I changed it.
I was
7:30.
asking a clarifying comment. All right, community development, Corey.
We did not meet. We meet the 25th, 4 o'clock, second floor, City Hall.
Public safety, Jay. Have you guys met?
We did not meet, and we are meeting on the February 11th at 4 o'clock.
Public works, Julie.
We have not met since the last meeting, and our next meeting is on the 13th at 9 o'clock.
Strategic planning, Scott.
No meeting since the last council meeting. I think we need to pick a date. Be thinking about that. So I think what we talked about last time with some of the ordinances that we probably need to do a review. And so I think in the strategic planning committee, we've agreed to facilitate that that scrub of the ordinances, make sure we're up to date on that. So I think that's probably, and we'll combine that with, anything we need to do on the strategic planning piece, get ready for the next workshop where we review it as a council, but that's less, based on kind of having it published where we're at now, that's less onerous. So we'll inform you of the next date. I'll text you. We'll find something that works. Okay.
That'd be fun.
And Shay, we probably need your input on things that you think need to be reviewed in that ordinance stack.
So I do not do 7:30. So
7:15. You do 7:15?
you don't want to hear me before 10.
I don't do that either.
That's unreasonable
Okay.
behavior.
All right. That's fair.
Are we just in that?
I've been
Are you
admonished.
just taking a look at what we have online, what we need to get online, and
Well, I think what we're going to look at is, we don't know. So it's open for suggestions, but I think what the first thing we would do is make sure that whoever's got the repository of the current ordinances,
that's available online?
that is what is online. If it's not, then we make those changes. And then if there's changes that need to be made in the stuff that is online that may be outdated or not have a ordinance, we may need to pass some ordinance updates.
I don't think you guys have updated your city fine schedule
No, probably online it hasn't been, but we've updated it since
Yeah,
20.
that'll be part of the stuff that's just out of sync.
But I think for me, that's what I would like to see first,
Yeah.
is going through that online,
Yeah.
making sure we're getting that stuff
Yeah.
updated. And at least what's been passed is available for view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last time? Okay.
We usually pass them in January each year, but
Well, if you guys are passing them, you're not putting them
Yeah.
anywhere where there's like one place where
Correct.
you gotta find it.
We're working on that.
Sort of
and that's what they are tasked with.
Yeah, so that's what we need to get that online so people have a place to go see that.
All right, good. Scott? Good.
Yeah, I'm good.
City administrator staff comments?
Just one comment. We, this past Saturday, we had our hearing at the State Historic Preservation Office for our proposed historic district. We'll probably know in a couple months whether we qualify, so it doesn't take them too long. But we've been working on that for about 2 years now, and this should be the end of the process. So we're almost there.
Council comments? Only comment I have for those that haven't turned in their feedback on Glenn's eval, if you could get that to me, or no, to Shay, send it to Shay. That way, preferably at least before the next meeting with a few days in there so I can put the eval together and then review it with you guys, and then I'll review it with Glenn after. Okay. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Executive session?
Move to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. We're adjourned.